So I get responses often from Indians and Chinese, often. They're usually hackers. That's weird. Anyway, I was looking out the window. Somebody has a window open, that's unusual. And I just got told that my thing about, having companies do that to me, it's very understandable why I'm mad. It's uncalled for. And somebody else in the conversation, I can't reveal these sources because some of these people actually have lives and families that would be in danger. Yeah, I know, it sounds crazy. The world is not a nice place, unfortunately. The United States is a beacon of light within the darkness. It's basically how our ancestors viewed the country. And another person replied, along the lines, I'm not going to give exact wordage, but it had something to do with they want us to accept how these people treat us because it's some kind of karmic thing. And the answer is no. We don't need to accept that, Indians demand to run our economy, okay? That's what they're demanding. When they tell us that they do run our economy and they tell us that they do run our tech industry, it's not true, they don't. Not even close. We run our tech industry. We run our own economy. What they're trying to say is they demand to run our economy. They're demanding to run our tech industry. They're not even close to running our tech industry. The vast majority of the research is done by mostly white researchers, PhD level researchers working in the corporate world. The academics, there's a lot of Chinese people in the academics. In artificial intelligence, for example, all of the people involved in the beginning were either European, mostly Swedish and Finnish, or white Americans. I was involved myself. I wasn't doing the fancy math stuff. I was working on database stuff on the other end. And I had already worked on drivers and stuff, and packages, software packages, and stuff like that. But I didn't work on the actual research for the mathematics and everything because my math skills are not as good as someone, say, like PhD in mathematics should be. So there were some Hispanic people, whatever you want to call Hispanic people, mestizo, whatever you call them. The Indians started getting into the conversation like 8 or 9 years after the conversation had already started occurring. Like the conversation started in like 2012, 2013, and then the Indian researchers started coming over here. Like the visa program didn't really start taking off till 2014, 2015. And then obviously the agenda of the far left in the tech industry is pretty obvious by now. They want to basically just gut it, remove any semblance of American as being fascist and hand it off to somebody that, they perceive to be karmic and more just. And let me tell you, the Antifa crowd is really into Hinduism. They're really into karma. They're really into that Eastern religious thing, the hippie thing. Because, surprise, they're hippies' children. They're the children of hippies. They're the grandchildren of hippies. So it just, we're going all the way back to understanding that the hippies did this to us. Thanks, by the way, thanks. Thanks for creating what ended up being terrorists. We appreciate it. But the idea that we have to accept that these hateful people want to run our industry single-handedly and tell us that they run our economy, they don't. They don't run the economy. Larry Fink knows better. And Larry Fink is manager of one of the largest funds on the planet, and he knows better to say he runs the economy. Everybody on this planet knows that Larry Fink doesn't run the U.S. economy. Even Jerome Powell knows he doesn't run the economy in the United States. If you really want to understand who runs the economy in the United States, I would suggest, or rather recommend, you go to this place down in Georgia called Fort Benning. It's around this town, I think it's called Charleston, something like that. I think it's Charleston. But it's this place called Fort Benning, Georgia. Go down there, and just walk around. Go be a guest. Go to the Museum of Infantry. Go down there and walk around. Learn something about the history of the armed forces of the United States, and then go over and examine the Naval War Museum. You can figure out where it's at. And then take a look around all those memorials. And in Arlington, they run the economy. Whether it's wealth or poverty, you have nothing without those men and women that died for you to have it. All of your freedom, all your liberty, all your wealth came at the sacrifice that those people made. Otherwise, you would be poor, we wouldn't have a country, and you would not be here telling us that you run the tech industry and you run our economy. You don't. You don't. Stop saying it. Stop pretending like you do. Stop trying to convince us that you do, because you don't. You just don't. I have watched people go from multi-billion-dollar fortunes to nothing all my life. I've seen it happen time and time again. I've seen multi-hundred-billion-dollar corporations, poof, gone. Really, really fast. Google can disappear just like that. Poof, gone. We don't rely on it. We don't need it. Amazon, poof, gone, just like that. All your jobs, poof, gone. Any of that wealth you thought you had, poof, gone. I don't appreciate it that all these workers coming in on visas are speaking to Americans like that. Target, good example. We did that to Target. Christians did. American Christians almost dragged Target into bankruptcy. They had to restructure. You don't own it. You don't own the economy. You don't own the tech industry. You don't run it. You don't own any of it. It's not yours. If their company is doing illegal things and not hiring the right people and not following the laws and they get caught cheating, I'm going to be honest. If I were the prosecutor, if I were the DOJ, if I were Pamela Bondi right now, I would have teams looking at the HR departments as individuals and investigating them directly. That's what I would be doing. If I were, the Secretary of Justice or whatever it's called, the leader of the DOJ, the Attorney General, whatever you call that person, whatever you call Pam Bondi's position. If I were her, and I had beautiful blonde hair, pretty blue eyes, and was a hottie when I was younger. Now I'm just a toddy. But anyways, if I were Pam Bondi and I had the ability to investigate this stuff, I would be a little more accurate and a little more, how do you say? How do you call this? What do you call this? Let me speak like an Indian person. How do I call this? What do you call this? When you're a little more discretionary, right? Discretionary, a little more precise, a little more thorough on my investigation. might look at some kind of discrepancy here and see, oh, look at this. This person's committing fraud. This isn't exactly legal. And then, maybe subpoena some records to find out what's going on. It doesn't cost anything for the DOJ to drop a subpoena. It doesn't cost anything for the federal government to take a closer look at you and say, what is this? Their budget's already priced in. They don't have to pay lawyers. They are lawyers. It's already priced in. You understand? So we can examine the evidence a little closer. David Hartman doesn't have to spend all his time looking at it to find out what's going on there and then try to get some actual lawyers motivated to examine it closer with him. But that's all on Pam. That's all on the lawyer class of the United States to go examine it. Look, I know I don't have any friends over on that side. I don't care. I actually don't care. I don't care if you don't like me. It doesn't affect my life at all. None of these attacks, all you do is slow my business down, which is illegal. But, it's illegal to disrupt legal operations of any corporate interest in the United States of America. It's a federal offense. Whatever, right? Oh, there's no proof, no evidence of it. I have emails. I could just back up the emails, right?